This lesson is on just a review of terminating and repeating decimals. So repeating decimals would be something like 0.3 with the bar over it. Okay, that is called bar notation. Sometimes you have more than one digit that repeats, like this. You can have a whole number followed by some repeating decimal digits. And what that actually means is whatever number the bar is over is the part that's repeating. So 0.3 repeated goes on and on and on. Let's see, 0.12, the 1 and the 2 are both repeated. Okay, so that continues on, and we have 11.3, and it looks like just the 8.5 are the part that repeat. Okay, so those are repeating decimals. If they don't repeat, generally they are called terminating decimals. So let's go ahead and label these. These are repeating decimals. Terminating decimals would be something that ends. So 0.3, 0.12, 11.385. Okay, so these are terminating decimals. In this lesson, you are going to be asked to take fractions and to divide them out and to come up with either the terminating or the repeating decimal form. In this next section, our first example that we're going to look at is going to ask you to write each fraction or mixed number as a decimal. So there are some fractions that are going to be pretty easy to change to decimals. Anytime it's out of 100, then that makes that really, really easy. So 74 out of 100 is just going to be 0.74. Looking at letter B, 7/20ths, if there's something that you can do to make that denominator be 100, then that's going to help as well. So for example, we can take 20 times 5, which means we have to take the 7 times 5. And if we do that, we end up getting 35 over 100, which again ends up making that pretty easy for you to be able to create the decimal form of that. The next one, we could do the same thing, or we could think of money, 3/4 of a dollar. Okay, so this would be times 25 and times 25. And notice that the 3 is the whole number. That means that this is going to be 3. And let's see, 3 times 25 is 75. 4 times 25 is 100. And so that would be 3.75. So your first step is to see, can you get the denominator to be 100, which is going to make turning that into a decimal much easier. The next set of problems that we're going to look at are a little bit more tricky because we're not going to have some number that we can multiply our denominators by to get 100. So if that's the case, then you're simply going to want to go ahead and divide. Okay, remember we read top down, so that says 3 is being divided by 8. And just a little reminder, your denominator goes outside and your numerator goes inside. So this would be 3 on the inside, 8 on the outside, and we already know we're doing a decimal, so we might as well add the decimal point in the 0. Since 8 does not go into 3, I'm going to put a 0 above the 3, but 8 does go into 30 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24, and when I subtract, I get 6. Bring down the 0. 8 goes into 60 7 times, and we get 56. Subtract and get 4. Bring down to 0, and 8 goes into 45 times. Since we did end up getting a remainder of 0, we know that we are finished. So this answer is 0.375. The next problem that we're going to look at is -1/40. Again, there's really not something that we can multiply by to get 100 very easily. So we are going to put 1 on the inside, 40 on the outside. And down here, I'm going to go ahead and put my negative sign. I know that this is going to be a negative number. Okay, I know that for a fact. So I'm going to go ahead and put my negative sign down there just so that I remember that part of the answer. Okay, let's go ahead and add a decimal point and a 0. So 40 does not go into 1, but also notice 40 does not go into 10. This is when we have to put a 0 up here. Add another 0, 40 goes into 100 twice, and we get 80. Subtract and we get 20. Bring down the 0, and 4 goes into 20, just like 40 goes into 200 5 times, and that becomes a remainder of 0. So this is going to be negative 0.025. Our next one, 9 goes on the outside, 7 goes on the inside. Go ahead and make that a decimal. And 9 does not go into 7, so that first number is a 0. But 9 goes into 70 7 times, and we get 63. Subtract and get 7, bring down a 0. Again, 9 goes into 70 7 times, and as you can see, this becomes a repeating decimal. So this answer would be 0.7 repeated. Notice that we only need one repeat, 1 7 that's showing the repeat. We do not need to write 0.777 and then do the bar notation. Just leave it as 0.7 repeat. Now the next question is, can you go the other way? So in previous examples we were taking fractions and turning them into decimals. Now we're going to be looking at taking decimals and turning those into fractions. One of the easiest ways to do this is if you do already have the place value memorized, it makes it a lot easier. For example, a lot of people will call this 0.15 or 0.15, but the correct way to name this would be 0 and 15 hundredths, because the 5 is in the hundredths place. So 15 hundredths, gosh, that makes it pretty easy for us to be able to write it like that. Okay. However, if you don't know your place value, here's a little trick. Any digit to the right of the decimal point is going to be your numerator. So as you can see, 1 and 5 are to the right of the decimal point. That will be our numerator. And your denominator is going to consist of the same number of zeros as there are digits in the numerator. Since there are 2 digits in the numerator, that would be 100 as opposed to 10 or 1000. Now don't forget your divisibility rules for 2, 3, and 5 and 10. So 5 and 10 would be ending in 5 and 0. Okay, these are both divisible by 5. So we would get 15 divided by 5 is 3, and 100 divided by 5 is 20. So 3/20 would be our answer for letter B. I'm sorry, for letter A. Letter B, I'm going to go ahead and put a box down here for my answer, and remember that that answer is, in fact, negative. Same thing here. So we've got 4 and 5 to the right of the decimal point, so that means I need 2 zeros in the denominator. Both of these are also divisible by 5, and it looks like 45 divided by 5 is 9, and 100 divided by 5 is 20. The next one, I'm going to go ahead and leave the 5 out of the fraction part because I'm going to make this into a mixed number. So it's going to be 5 and something. Okay, so let's see, we've got 3 and 4 to the right of the decimal. That's going to be 2 zeros. I know that these are both even, and we get 17 over 50. And here are a couple more problems for us to try. So again, this is going to be negative. There's 1 digit to the right of the decimal point, so that means 1 0 in the denominator. So that would be 4/10, which reduces, those are both even, and that reduces to negative 2/5. 0.125, we're going to put 125 or 125 in the numerator. 3 digits in the numerator means 3 zeros in the denominator. And then you need to stop and think, are these divisible by anything in particular? Okay, I think they're both divisible by 25. So we're going to check this out. Okay, think about it. If you have $1.25, how many quarters do you have? Okay, you have 5. Okay, now 100 divided by 25, or 1,000 divided by 25, I know that 100 is 4, so that would be 100. And then bring down the 0, and 25 does not go into 0, so that would be 0, so our answer would be 40. So it looks like this actually could have been divided by something even bigger, because now 5 and 40 are both divisible by 5. So divide by 5, divide by 5, and it looks like we get 1/8. And letter F, 3 is going to be our whole number. We have 1 digit 4 to the right of the decimal point, which leaves us with 1 0 in the denominator. Those are both even, and we end up getting 3 2/5. Your homework is to go to the Google form and to complete those 10 problems. Make sure you submit through Google Classroom.